Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Andy Dio, and I'm your host for this event. This is a very important webcast. We have some key information to share with you about the new Autodesk subscription model that's going into effect on Feb 1. So at this point, I'd like to pass a presentation over to Anthony Rodriguez. Anthony?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Like Andy said, thanks for joining. I'm joined with two of my colleagues, Rich Sanchez, who works on our customer support team, as well as Joe Meridian, who's responsible for many of your subscription renewal contracts that you work with us on. We all welcome you to the event. This is, like Andy said, an important topic, and it's amazing to me that a year has already gone by since we've started talking about this. And really, we wanted to take some time to really make sure everyone, all of our customers, were clear on what this transition means, not just in terms of the facts of the transition, but what it means to you and your individual licensing situation, and be able to provide you the advice and work with you to make sure you're prepared for this change. So really, the first thing, and a lot of you may have heard this in the past in a variety of forms, and we're going to go through all the details and important dates in a minute. But first off, Autodesk announced about 18 months ago that they're going to transition their licensing to strictly a subscription license business. So in the past, several of you have bought different formats like Perpetual licenses. That will no longer be available as we move forward throughout this year. The only option will be to purchase subscription licenses in a couple different formats that we'll cover in just a minute here. And the first thing I want everyone to know, because most of you, as I look at the attendees, and there's a lot of you on this webcast, most of you are currently maintenance subscription customers. Okay, the majority of you have perpetual licenses. You pay a annual maintenance fee to keep those licenses current and up to date. And the first thing everyone needs to realize is the option to continue to maintain your licensing is not going to go away. As long as you continue to maintain and renew those licenses, you'll be able to use the software and access it the same way you've been used to all these years. One thing you may want to consider, those of you that are on a maintenance subscription contract, is to consider looking at, if you're happy with that, consider looking at locking in your maintenance contract at the current rate for multiple years. And we'll talk about those options later in the presentation. So as we move to a subscription model, the natural question is, why is Autodesk doing this, and what are the benefits to me as a customer? A lot of this will come to light as the transition starts to take place. I will tell you that a good percentage of our customers today that are buying new software are buying, more than 20% of those licenses are the new subscription format. So we've been starting the last year, Joe, Rich, myself, and the rest of the team, been working with customers that now have strictly subscription licenses, understanding the benefits they see. And these are just a handful that I'd like to point out. One is the ability that the flexibility it gives you as a customer. It allows you to kind of ramp up, ramp down based on projects and workforce needs that you have. It allows you to try out new software that in the past you may have considered trying, but the investment was a large upfront investment. You can now do that in a more feasible manner. As you've all seen as customers, Autodesk continues to release and create and enhance their products. And as they do that, a subscription option gives them the ability to roll out updates and improvements to the software on a more regular basis. So rather than one major annual release and having to go through the upgrade process, we'll see those updates start to happen more frequently and more naturally without them being a major event as they had in the past. And because these are user-based subscriptions, you'll notice that there's more personalization. As I log in as a user, the system starts to know who I am, knows the kind of tools I'm used to using, and Autodesk will have the benefit of being able to improve that as we go forward. So when we look at the options as a customer you have today, and today is really only a couple more weeks here before some of these options go away, and we'll go through that. But the options you have as a customer today is you have the option to either purchase software in a subscription format, okay? And in the subscription format, there's really three types of subscription you can purchase. The first is simply a user license, okay? So you have one user who needs access to software, and you pay for that subscription, and you pay for the period of use that you want to use that software for. So maybe it's a quarter or a year or multiple years that you pay to have access to use that software. The second option, which is a new option and something new to this presentation, we've done multiple presentations like this over the last year, and this is the first time we're introducing this, is a subscription software that allows you to have multiple users, or what most of you are more familiar with as a network option to a subscription format. So this allows you to buy access to one type of software and then share that software with multiple users, so that and the system will manage and only allow one user at a time to access the software. This benefits companies who have a lot of part-time users who may have different time zones, and that option now exists with a subscription license purchase. And then some of the newer technologies like PLM software, some of the simulation technologies, collaboration for Revit, come in a cloud subscription format. Okay, and those are options that allow you to run the software in the cloud. It doesn't require a lot of installation on your own personal device. The software and information stored in the cloud, and you pay for those based on what you're at and the time frame you need access to those. So those are the subscription options that exist today. Those are the options that will continue to exist as we move forward. And today, the last option you have, and again, this option is what the majority of you own today, is maintenance subscription. Okay, this allows a customer to purchase software. The software is perpetual, meaning you own the rights to use the software forever. And then you have the option to buy a maintenance contract that keeps that software updated as Autodesk updates software. Now, as we look forward, the maintenance subscription option is what will change and what will go away, and we'll talk about the dates in a minute. But maintenance software, again, really benefits you from you have the ability to own the software, and you pay a maintenance fee as you go forward. It includes some support as part of owning the software, and it gives you access to some learning tools and other abilities online when you log into your account. The second option, which we talked about, is desktop subscription. I've talked about the benefits there of being able to, at a lower cost, try out, add software. It gives you the ability to manage users, and each user have their own login and gain from personalization. And then the final option is cloud subscription again. And this is available on some of the newer technology like PLM, collaboration for Revit, Buzzsaw for collaboration. Some of you on this call that I'm looking at actually own access to some of these tools today. And that capability will continue to be available to you. So the big change that everyone is probably on this call to understand is what is going away, and what is going away is the maintenance subscription option. Okay, so starting February 1st, a couple weeks from now, we're really right at the tail end of this change happening, and this change will happen starting February 1st. You will no longer be able to purchase maintenance subscription or perpetual licenses with maintenance subscription for individual products. Okay, so this will happen in 2 phases. The first phase, again, is February 1st. Individual products, meaning products like AutoCAD, Civil 3D, non-suite products, Inventor, AutoCAD LT. Those products will no longer be available for purchase at Perpetual with maintenance subscription. Your only option will be to purchase those in a desktop subscription format. Okay, so that will happen 2 weeks from now. The second date is important because the remainder of products will follow that same path. So all of the suite-based products will also no longer be available for purchase in a perpetual format starting August 1st. Okay, so for individual products, you have 2 weeks to decide how you want to manage this change. And we'll talk about what we see and what we're advising other customers to do based on different situations in a second. But again, you have till February 1st, 2 more weeks to decide for customers who have individual products. Those of you who have suite products or are purchasing suite products, you'll continue to be able to do that in a perpetual format through August 1st. And on August 1st, this option you see on the bottom will no longer be available. You will only be able to maintain software you already have on subscription in this format. Okay, so again, if we fast forward to August 1st, these will be the options for additional software. Okay, you'll have the options we talked about earlier, which are all in a subscription type format. So I want to talk about, what we see customers looking to do, and based on different situations they have, what you can do with this information. Obviously, one option is to do nothing. And some of you may be in a situation where you have what you need today, you're not expecting any growth, and you're comfortable with the maintenance subscription you have now. You may choose to not buy anything, but simply consider extending your maintenance subscription contract for multiple years so that you disrupt any changes, you're kind of locked in at the current rates, and you have a few years to see how this whole transition transpires. Those of you who have maintenance subscription, again, you have the ability to do that today. Extend your subscription for multiple years, and our team can definitely help you and go over the options with that. For those of you who have additional needs, there's really a few different things we see customers doing. The first is those customers who have multiple users. So as an example, 3 or more users. If you're and if you have any one of these, it makes sense to look at and consider networking your perpetual licenses. If you have multiple users, if you have multiple locations, maybe your locations are in different time zones. So as an example, you have a design firm in Los Angeles, you may have a design firm in Minnesota, and another group of designers in China. Okay? Based on the different time zones, it may make sense to network your licenses because the licenses are only being used part-time and can be shared in hours that others may be sleeping. Some customers have situations where they have, let's say as an example, 10 product design suite premiums and 2 product design suite ultimates. Okay, the ultimate gives you the ability to do some simulation, some tube and pipe and routing kind of design. Those may not be tasks that everyone needs every day. So it may benefit networking those licenses so that your entire team has access to them as and when they need them. And then by networking your licenses, the server is in control of who has access to licenses. It manages and makes sure that only the right number of users are using software at any given time. So all of us I'm sure, have seen compliance organizations like the BSA are out, auditing and making sure that customers are compliant with software. And by networking your licenses, it is the safest way to ensure that you're compliant from a software standpoint. So this is one example with this date coming February. What we see customers considering. Those of you that have a lot of individual products like AutoCAD, AutoCAD Mechanical, Civil 3D, Revit on its own, consider networking it, especially if you're in any of these situations that you see listed. The second opportunity customers are taking advantage of is looking at what their plans are for the next 6 to 12 months. And if you are in a situation where you plan on adding additional engineers, additional designers over the next 6 to 12 months, and you want to consider giving them the same software you're used to providing your other users, you may consider adding additional perpetual licenses today. Again, you have 2 weeks to do that. Those customers that are growing, we've seen a definite increase in customers, planning and purchasing ahead of when they bring these users on, just anticipating the needs and making sure that they have the same format they're used to as they go forward. Some of you I know are evaluating new tools like maybe Inventor or AutoCAD Electrical, Vault, and some other tools. If you want to continue to purchase those and buy those in a perpetual format, again, you have a couple of weeks to make those purchases. And many of you have old software, okay? Software you're still using that may be in 2012 release, 2013 release. Now is really the time to look at bringing that software current and buying additional perpetual licenses to satisfy the needs of those users. Okay, so really we've talked about two things I've personally seen, and at Kativ we've seen many customers take advantage of. One is networking, one is adding perpetual licenses, and then the final is if you simply want more time to decide how to manage users and licensing going forward. Again, with a suite, you have until August 1st to continue to buy perpetual licenses. So many of our customers have taken their individual products like AutoCAD Electrical, AutoCAD Mechanical, Revit, Civil 3D, and moved those, migrated those to a suite type product. So they have an additional 6 months or so to figure out what their needs are and add perpetual in a suite format if they need it. In addition to, and so that's, just to pause for a minute, that's what we've seen other customers doing. Again, some of you may be in a situation where these changes aren't going to affect you, you're not growing, you have a limited number of users. That's fine. Our goal is to make sure you know what is changing and you know the options. Through January 29th, which is the last day to add additional perpetual licenses of individual products, there are several opportunities if you fall in one of the categories we just talked about: networking, wanting to lock in your contract for multiple years, needing additional licenses, or wanting to upgrade to a suite. There are a few options. One of the options is we've worked with a finance partner to offer a 0% finance option, and that financing is extended for 12 months, and it does not require a payment for the first 4 months. Okay, so it allows you to make the purchase now, take advantage of the offers available, and to purchase the perpetual licenses now, and not start paying for them for 4 months. You have an option today to lock in your existing maintenance subscription contracts for multiple years at the current rates. Okay, so most of you are familiar with your maintenance subscription contract rates have been. If you want to extend those out as far as 3 years, just to make sure that you're covered, there's no change, and you continue to use and access software the way you've been, you'll want to consider locking those contracts in for multiple years. Those of you on older software, there's a late fee waiver in place today, so you're not going to have to pay for a late fee. You simply add the maintenance to your software to bring it current, as long as it's within the last 12 months of dropping off of maintenance. And then the final thing is, if you do like the ability to add and move to the subscription format, Autodesk has several rebates and discounts in place, up to 40%, to help you migrate to the new subscription licensing options that exist, either for additional software, or looking at transitioning from maybe something you own today. It's important that all of you stay on. We are going to open up for a Q&A next, and really going through these in the past, I think a lot of customers I talked to really learned and got their questions clarified in this session. So I encourage any of you that have any questions to simply type them into the GoToMeeting that you're on. Me, Rich, Joe are here on standby. I know there's many questions I've seen come in already. And we're going to be answering all the questions live. You know, we're going to take the time it takes to get to each one. So the last thing I want to say before we go to the Q&A is I encourage all of you to reach out to us. You know, our team's here to help you and advise you on what the right move for you is. And I encourage all of you to call us and get our help. So thank you, everyone, for attending, and we'll start the Q&A. Andy?
Thanks, Anthony. So as we're waiting for questions to come in, I just want to remind the audience, please type it in the Q&A panel and we'll address it right now. We have a few that came in during the presentation. One person asked, and this is Ron, who asked, you know, he's still a little confused about all the options that are out there today, right? So the question that Ron asked, let's say he's never used AutoCAD before. What's his option after Feb 1? How does he get AutoCAD? How does he buy AutoCAD? Either you can take that, or Joe, if you want to take that, please respond to that question.
So if you want to start fresh after February 1st with AutoCAD, then your option to get AutoCAD would be to get the desktop subscription model. So it can be accessed anywhere from 3 months up to 36 months on a term. If you prefer the Perpetual license model after February 1st, AutoCAD is available in a multitude of suites. Those will be available for purchase on a perpetual basis until the end of July 2016.
Thanks, Joe. And just to add to that, right? It's similar to I've heard this example used by our team many times. It's the difference between buying a car or leasing a car. You know, right now you have the option to buy perpetual licenses, which means you own it in perpetuity. As long as you keep up with your maintenance subscription on an annual basis, you keep getting the latest and greatest. After February 1st, the only option you have is to lease or rent the software through desktop subscription. So I hope that clears that up, Ron, and we can definitely follow up with you if you have additional questions. Another question that had to come in, and I think, Anthony, you can address this one. Ori asked, why would a customer, you know, buy maintenance or perpetual licenses today if subscription licenses are, you know, so beneficial and the future of the software?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the customers we see adding additional perpetual licenses today are customers who already have an implementation in place of perpetual licensing. So rather than mixing up and managing multiple contracts and types of software, they're simply adding additional licenses of what they're used to. Customers who are maybe in a startup mode or considering moving from another type of software to Autodesk software, the majority of those customers have gravitated to the desktop subscription option. You know, not everyone, but when I look at patterns, that's what I see. Customers who are used to the maintenance subscription are adding additional licenses so they have consistency as they move forward. And newer customers are seriously considering, and the majority moving to or purchasing the desktop subscription option.
All right, thanks, Anthony. Hopefully that answers your question, Ori. But if not, please feel free to contact us, and we'll have a one-on-one discussion with you and for your specific situation as well, because obviously with each company, your licensing situation is completely different, right? Another question that came in. Can you explain what is token-based licensing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the token-based licensing is going to be more for the cloud, the cloud solution. So, for example, if you're on a simulation subscription via the cloud, you'll have so many credits, and each simulation you run consumes a certain number of those credits.
All right, Fred, I hope that answers your question. If you have additional questions, feel free to reach out to Rich, and he can help you or any of the KETIV representative. I have a couple questions that came in regarding pricing for desktop subscription. So again, there's a lot of different tiers of pricing, and the pricings are different, depends on the product. So if you do have pricing questions, I do recommend to reach out to your KETIV sales representative, and he or she can help you with that information. Another question that came in from Jessica is, will pricing be different depending on the term of the lease?
Yeah, so if there's multiple terms available. If you look at the annual rates, they are pretty much the basis for the desktop model. The annual rates are what most people do. So if you do a 1-year rate, it's going to be more cost effective than, say, doing 2 or 3 quarters at a time. Obviously, if you only need the software for 3 or 6 months, it makes more sense for you to rent the software for 3 or 6 months at a time. However, the longer the term, the better the rates are.
All right. And I do want to remind everyone that there's some great offers right now from Autodesk where you can get up to 40% off on a 3-year subscription for a product like Product Design Suite. So some really outstanding pricing. So talk to your KETIV representative about that if you're interested. Another question that came in from Michael. We have AutoCAD Inventor Series 11 for 4 users with no maintenance. Can we continue to use older version as is with no updates? And they only need that version for legacy needs only.
So in that case, if you're using legacy software, you own it. It is a perpetual license. You'll definitely be able to run and use that software for the rest of time. But what you would want to consider there is, as other technology progresses, the ability to run that software may not stay the same. And what I mean by that is, for example, as Windows updates come out and as Windows changes, newer version of Windows may not support that older version of Inventor.
All right. Thanks, Rich. Great. Tons of questions are coming in. Please continue to get them in, and we'll try to address them all. I have a question that came in from Conrad. If we lock in a multi-year perpetual subscription, can we add licenses to that subscription after August 1st?
So perpetual licenses will no longer be available after August 1st, so you will not be able to purchase a perpetual license with maintenance after that date. So your only option at that point would be to shift to the desktop subscription model. You can acquire new licenses there, and we can make that subscription coterminous with your maintenance subscription, so it's very easy for you to manage. We can sync up your Autodesk account with multiple forms of licensing, including desktop, maintenance, and cloud subscription. So it's really easy for you to access from one site. But no, you cannot purchase any perpetual licenses after August 1st, even if you already own them on a maintenance plan.
All right, and Conrad, for you, I do highly recommend to get in touch with your account manager. One of the things that we do is with a lot of customers actually, is we sit down and kind of work with you based on your requirements and your business plan to kind of help you project what you're going to need. Of course, it's a projection, but it should help you kind of quantify how many licenses you might need today and kind of if you want to stay with perpetual licensing, help you with what the right amount is for you to invest in. Question that came in from Lewis. I already have a subscription to a suite. Am I eligible for the discount? That's question number one. And question number two is, do I have the ability to change what my design suite has in it? For instance, I have product design suite that includes electrical, mechanical, inventor, vault, and raster. However, I think all I need is really AutoCAD and inventor and maybe raster. This could be a separate conversation, but maybe Rich or Joe, you guys can address this and follow up with Lewis after.
Yeah, Lewis, that's a pretty involved question. I'm more than happy to touch base with you about that directly. But there is a way, just at a high level, there is a way to go from one suite to another. Autodesk a cross grade. So if you're going from a current design suite to another design suite, you can cross grade that license. You essentially use its value to get some trade-in value towards the new purchase. You can trade up and you can trade down either way.
Can you repeat the first question, Andy?
The first question was if he already has a subscription, to a design suite, is he eligible for the discount?
So if you have a perpetual license with maintenance subscription, if that's what you're referring to, then the promotions, the specials in place right now do not pertain to that particularly. But we can definitely see what we can do if you want to extend that. If there's anything you want to do as far as extending that term as long as possible, we can take that offline.
Great, and yeah, Joe, just make sure please take a note and follow up with Lewis, because it sounds like he has a lot of follow-up questions as well. Another question that comes in from Terrence. Would 1 year or multiple year maintenance on existing licenses, software updates, and support are included? Is that correct? And then the follow-up question to that was, will yearly maintenance be available moving forward? So either Joe or Rich can take this one. Yeah.
So the first question, in terms of support, there's with subscription, Autodesk includes some email-based support for all customers. Okay? It gives you the ability to email Autodesk with a question, and they have a 24-hour response time to get back to you and resolve questions that you have. And that's included with all of the subscription options, including maintenance subscription. The majority of our customers, in addition to that, have a lifeline contract, which is a CATIV support contract. There's a variety of benefits in having that contract, one of which is the ability to call and get to a dedicated team of support technicians that work with you via the phone, GoToMeeting, to resolve questions that you have in a timely manner. There's also a lot of proactive events and newsletters and tech tips that are created to prevent you from running into issues in the first place. And those are options. Again, we'd be happy to share in detail with all of you. And that is with the CATIV Lifeline support. The second part of that question again, Andy?
Is will yearly maintenance be available moving forward?
Yes. So maintenance subscription will continue to be available as long as you stay on maintenance. So as an example, if you're on a maintenance subscription contract today that expires December 2016, at that point you'll be able to pay for your maintenance licensing fees and extend it for another year or 3 years at that point. What we will see is a prices may change as we move forward, and they'll likely change. And that's why we've seen a surge in customers start to extend their maintenance contract out for multiple years. And again, as Joe alluded to earlier, if you're interested in that, definitely reach out to us, and we'll work with you to put a plan together to benefit from locking in your rate, the current rates today.
All right, sounds good, Anthony. And I know we're way past our end time, but it sounds like a lot of people have questions. So, those that have questions, please continue to put them in, and we'll stay on as long as we need to make sure that all your questions are answered. Next question from Richard. Can you please repeat what situation the late fee waiver is valid for?
Yeah, great question, Richard. So late fee waivers are for maintenance subscription plans. So if you had a maintenance subscription on a perpetual license that expired within the last 364 days, you can renew that maintenance subscription with a $100 late fee. That is typically how that works. However, Autodesk is waiving that $100 late fee between now and the end of January. So any contracts or any programs that fell off a maintenance contract within the last 364 days can be renewed with no penalty whatsoever. So it'd be simply renewing the maintenance for that particular license.
All right, thanks, Joe. And I have a pricing question from Jessica, but I think this is better if we follow up offline, but I'll mention the question here. What surcharge should I plan on for a 3 or 6 month lease? So again, the answer to that is it really depends on what type of license you are looking into leasing. And our salespeople can definitely help you with that. So we'll follow up with you offline, Jessica, to kind of get the particulars on what software you're looking into and what the terms are, and then we can tell you exactly what the differences are.
Yeah, so Andy, I want to add to that as well. So right now, one of the specials Autodesk offers, you can acquire AutoCAD for $99 per month for up to a 3-year term. So that's a really compelling offer because it's about 30% off its normal price. Obviously, if you do a 3-month rental, the monthly rental price is going to be a lot higher than that. So that's just one example of how extending, renting the software for 12 months, 24 months, or 36 months will save you money monthly.
Thanks, Joe. I have a question that came in from Fillmore, and maybe Rich, you can take this one. I know this one came up before. Will we need fast internet and be connected to the internet at all times to use the desktop subscription?
That's a really good question. The answer to that is no. The software doesn't maintain a constant connection to the internet. All of the processing, all of your data is still on your local machine. It just needs to basically ping an Autodesk server once a month just to verify the subscription. But once it does that, you're free to take it offline and use it how and wherever you need to.
Another question from Vaughn. With the subscription network licensing option, is a local FlexLM license server used? And that's question one, and I have a follow-up question, so if you want to address that first.
Yeah, so that's another good question. I believe you will need the FlexLM license for the desktop subscription network model. What was the rest of that one?
So Vaughn, this is Joe as well. Autodesk just announced some of the details for their network subscription in the last few weeks. So we're still, learning all the technical details. However, it does look like it's going to be able to run the same way that your perpetual licenses do. However, I'm happy to follow up with you offline and confirm that with you.
All right.
And Andy, let's, as details technically for desktop subscription multi-user come available, let's schedule another session and make sure we present that option and all the details and capabilities that exist.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the follow-up question from Vaughn was, how much does this cost over the individual subscription cost? And I mean, I think if you're talking about desktop versus Perpetual.
Yeah, so what's really good about the ability to get a network subscription is it's about 50% more per year to lease than a normal standalone subscription. So if you can share the license between multiple users, it is much more cost effective than buying each of those users their own license. 50% is pretty standard across all of the products.
All right. I have a couple more questions. I know we're running a little long here, but I just want to make sure to respect everybody's time as well. One is, can we get a copy of the presentation? And that answer is yes. And we also record all of our webcasts and post it on to our YouTube channel. So this will be available on our YouTube channel probably about later on today or tomorrow morning. But I also want to remind the audience, make sure you subscribe to our blog. It's blog.kativ.com, or YouTube, or social media. We publish a lot of very useful information. So, when you do that, you're always up to date with what's new and things that are coming out that are important to you.
But I'd like to also encourage everyone, Andy, and I'm going to kind of go out on a limb here, but I'd like to, we've had a lot of attendance on this. We've obviously had a lot of questions and a lot of interest in the topic. This topic's important to us, that it's important that everyone understands the options and knows what will change. Andy, let's schedule a second one of these, another session, maybe in a week or two. And those of you on the line who maybe have colleagues or friends or peers in your industry that would benefit from this, that will give you an option to extend an invitation out to them and make sure that they hear directly from us what will change as well. So let's schedule one more of these before the deadline, Andy, and make sure that we have everyone covered and give everyone the opportunity to be in attendance.
Absolutely. I'll go ahead and do that and send out a notice to everybody. And then I think we have time for one final question here. If we have a network license with maintenance today, does it mean that we have to change to the network subscription, or can we keep it as is?
You can keep it as is. So your current network licenses will remain to get updates as long as they're on their maintenance subscription. So you will not have to change anything as far as that goes. You can add additional network subscription licenses into that mix in the future if needed as well. So just to clarify, anything that's on maintenance can continue to stay on maintenance. It'll continue to get updates. But after February 1st or August 1st, depending on which software program you need to acquire more of, you will have to move to the desktop subscription, but your current licenses will not be affected by that as long as they're on a maintenance subscription plan.
All right. So with that, I'd like to close the Q&A session and then pass it back to Anthony for closing.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining again. Look for an invitation from Andy for another one of these sessions. We'll make sure to have more detail on the multi-user desktop subscription capability. And we'll take some of the questions we got today and make sure we incorporate them into next presentation. So be sure to invite other colleagues, friends, people you think would be interested. We'll look forward to sharing with them. And you don't have to wait until then. As Andy's mentioned, definitely call us, call your representatives, call myself, and I'd be happy to spend time and make sure that you're real clear and have a good plan as you go forward. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great week.